the realm of creativity. So we have a point here about
Mhm.
using creativity in everyday life. How would you suggest people
Mhm.
go about their day being the most creative they can be?
Right. So let me give you a classic example of this.
Mhm.
And again, it's fostering ideas that come from within you or come from without, from other people. You have, you both have kids. You have kids?
Yep,
Anyway,
I do.
Not
you
yet.
have maybe younger brothers, sisters, cousins, whatever, nieces, nephews, whatever. That niece or nephew or whatever comes to you with an idea. But let's assume for the moment that you're a parent and your 8 or 9 year old comes to you and says, I would like to have 10 of my closest friends over for the weekend, right? Spend the
Mhm.
weekend with me.
Okay.
Immediate reaction is like, you're crazy, right? Inside.
Not
But you
me.
don't do that right, because you don't want to kill the idea. You say, and actually there's a little mnemonic that goes with this. It's point If you
Hmm.
write that down, we can walk through it together. So the P stands for be positive. Always be positive when an idea is presented to you, because you can't kill it. You can't kill it on arrival. You don't even know what its merits are.
Hmm.
So you say, okay, well, let's think about that for a little bit. Again, you can start by being negative and saying, look, go sit down. You see, we have COVID,
Yeah.
right? Start by being positive. You say, um, okay, well, let's think about that, right? Start by being positive. Um, the O talks about the opportunities. So you're moving through this PO. The O says, look for the opportunities. And you say, um, you know what? 10 of your friends together will give me, first of all, an opportunity to get to meet the kind of people that you're associating with. What sorts of relationships are you forming?
Hmm.
How are you socializing? What is the dynamic? Are you a leader or a follower? It gives me an opportunity to observe you in a social setting. It also gives you, the child, an opportunity to develop social skills. Because the child, in a sense, now, if that happens, they have to manage 9 or 10 people, 10 of their friends, in rapid succession, if you will. So you say, well, yeah, I can see some really good opportunities for that, because it would build your social skills and give me an opportunity to meet some of your friends, maybe some of their parents. I see some opportunities with it. Now we already gone to the buts,
Hmm.
but we're gonna walk through this slowly and carefully, methodically. So we get to the I's. The I is the issues, and even the issues that we have, the way you express them, you don't express them in a negative way. I have an issue. Well, I don't have the money. No. Again, you use certain terms, and I teach these in my sessions. You use statement starters like, how might we? What are all the ways that we might? So how might we um, cover, meals and all these stuff? How might we accommodate 10 people in our 1 bedroom apartment? How might we have this event and keep kids healthy, because we're now in a COVID world, not endanger anybody? How might we? What are all the ways? Okay? And you give that to the child as a project, because you could work it out and say, but no, you want to foster their creative thinking.
Hmm.
So give
I
it
like
some
that.
more thought, Johnny. Discuss it with your sister, even discuss it with your auntie. See what ideas you can come up with, and come back, and NT. Let's come up with some new thinking on how we might approach this. And Johnny might come back to you and say, you know what, you really raised some good questions, and I thought about it. Maybe it might be better to just have three of my friends over. Or maybe we don't have them over. Maybe we just do a little thing at the beach. You see what just happened?
Mm-hmm.
Johnny has had total ownership. You have fostered his ability to think creatively, and you had the problem solved without even coming up with a solution yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if I may, had we gone the other route with that one, the next time Johnny have an idea, he ain't coming to you because he already know what you're gonna say.
Yeah. That's powerful right
And
there.
yeah, and again, that also happens if we can segue in the school settings,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
When you have a kid, if you have a kid, remember we talked about the 4 categories. If you have a kid who is an ideator who likes to come up with ideas and comes up with an idea for a class activity or whatever, teacher says, all right, okay, now we're gonna do whatever. And the kid says, teacher, I have another idea. Maybe we can do it this way instead of that way.
Yeah.
How many teachers you know are gonna entertain that?
Few.
It all depends on, again, the teacher's thinking style preference. If the teacher is an ideator like the student, they will be comfortable with, well, let's talk about that idea. Maybe some other ideas. Anybody else have any ideas? Watch it now. If the kid is, and these preferences, by the way, just like right hand and left hand preferences, have been shown to develop very early in life. Okay? If you have a kid now who is a clarifier in the classroom, they like information, they like fact. Please, teacher, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lord, Billy, how much questions you going to ask me today? Look, you're annoying me. Go and stand by the door.
Wow.
You see it?
Yeah.
Go, you're getting on my nerves. You're slowing down the class. Stop asking so much questions. Go and stand by the door. Next thing you know, the principal passed. Why are you standing by the door? Come in the office with me. Now Billy is labeled as a troublemaker. And all Billy is a clarifier. That is his thinking style preference.
Mm.
And by the time Billy get back to the class, it's a different mindset. You see me, I can sit down here, I ain't asking no questions. I don't like that teacher, and that teacher don't like me. Anybody been there?
I think my son is currently there.
I think my wife is a clarifier, and I will be honest, I often get annoyed by all the questions. But like, it's weird because now that you're pointing it out, now I feel bad because I'm like, that's her style. That's how she gets to
Preference.
figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Dang.
It's all
And
good.
and so watch it now. I got goosebumps right now because I know you're moving to a different place, but I'm going to move you even further along because you're now in your head, I'm assuming, moving to, I need to be more tolerant of my wife and allow her to ask the questions. And I'm going to push that envelope just a little further. Not tolerant. You need to recognize that you need her to ask those questions.
Oh yeah, I
Because
recognized that a long time ago.
right, because if you're planning your holiday or whatever,
Uh-huh.
those questions need to be asked before you get on the plane.
Yep.
So, honey, let's what do you think about this? And hear her questions. I didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
not just tolerance; it is embracing, understanding the need for people who think differently to ourselves because they
Yeah.
make our event or process or product, whatever it is, better.
Yeah. I think you hit
Because
the nail on the head. You hit the nail right on the head. There's been so many times where she's thought of something that I would have never thought to ask. And because she asked that question, it shifted the gear into a whole different way that we would have missed, an opportunity that we could have potentially missed. So yeah, you're right. It's like for me, I have to find the balance between really appreciating it and fighting my own ire, my own annoyance with it. I
Yes,
feel like I
yes,
constantly at war, reminding myself, Fian, remember the time when she asked these questions and it helped?
Mm-hmm.
Don't get annoyed right now. She probably going to unlock something in your own brain to make you think of something new.
Yeah.
Which often happens.
Yes. But think about it in the other setting that I said. You're gonna take the time because you recognize you need her and you don't particularly want to sleep on the sofa tonight. So you gotta, bite your tongue and like, yes, dear. But when you are in a position of authority like a teacher or a supervisor, and you get that same annoyance from another human being, you're in control of them.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna remove that bug from your ear.
Yeah.
However you need to do it. And so it then evolves into a whole different. I keep harping on the schools, because I think like everything, there's a saying that says bend the tree when it's young or something like that. And I think that we need to introduce creative thinking into the elementary schools and the high schools. So I just throw that out there. We need to do a better job of training kids to think creatively,
Mm-hmm.
fostering that mental process, that mindset early. But so far, we're not doing that, guys. We're not doing that in our school systems. And again, to get back to my original point, they need it. They need it as a backdrop to the world, this VUCA world that we're handing to them.
Yeah.
Regardless of what profession they choose.
I wish I had done a little bit of research here because I feel like oftentimes in the Caribbean, our schools, or I don't know about the whole Caribbean, I could only speak for the USVI, but oftentimes I feel like we're a little bit behind. We're always lagging behind. And I wonder if European schools have already established some type of creativity or critical thinking courses that help their students with this kind of stuff, whereas we're lagging behind. And then to make matters worse, the US is lagging behind and we are lagging behind the US. So I guess what I wish I had researched was how have these schools implemented it, because I currently don't know. I could think of some ideas on my own, but do you know how potential implementations or how we could implement these kind of stuff?
Again, that's a whole.
Or do we need to revamp our entire education system before we can even implement this?
Woof.
Well, let me give you a couple seconds to think, Nick. I have a personal anecdote to give about my experience growing up. So I'm a year ahead of my cousin in life. So I'm older than him. But when I used to go down to Dominica for the summers, he would still be in school and he would bring home homework. And I'm like, what is this? Like, it was so advanced for me. And I found that work in my own life later on, like a year later or 2 years later, I found like the work that he was doing in our schools in the VI. So it's like, it's a different ball game almost, because when children come from the other Caribbean islands to the USVI, they're usually put ahead of their age because they're so advanced in what they're learning already. So I think what Fionn is saying has a lot of merit in that. They might already have ways to try and foster some form of creativity that we're not seeing, and we need to do something about it. Which was always my thought growing up. Is like, why does he know all this before me? And why they come in here and they just being ahead of us at a younger age and they graduate at 15, 16, because they already learned the things that we learned so long ago.
Absolutely, 100%. And so to Fionn's original question, yes, Europe, I can't say all, but many of the nations in Europe get it. Canada gets it. The US is kind of getting it, but they got a lot going on. And we won't even comment on the last Secretary of the Department of Education. So they're a little behind the 8 ball, right? But listen, reading, writing, arithmetic, and creativity, that's the new package. That's the new package in the schools because they get it. But to your point, Kurt, I think the USVA and the rest of the Caribbean to some extent, but yes, I've also experienced that, coming out of British West Indies, the whole education system, the sense of priorities and all that. But we generally have this mentality of, well, again, watch it. It looked like a good idea. It sounded like a good idea, but, right? Let's wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
So we always 5 or 6 steps behind the cutting edge. Why? We don't need to be. We don't need to be. We could be leaders. And the interesting thing about us is that we are, in a lot of ways, our education, our schools, we are a microcosm. So we can actually do the experiments in small settings, see the results, and then promote them or extrapolate them out to bigger systems. Free on your question, your original question though is kind of complicated. So the simple answer is yes, we need to, and we should, and all that. We should be introducing it into our schools. Exactly how that is done and whether we need to revamp the system. Like I said, that alone would take 2 hours to discuss, because there's we would need to re-examine a lot of what we're doing right around. The teachers, starting with the teachers, as I've been saying, need to be re-educated to understand what this creativity thing is all about, to understand the diversity of creative students that they have before them in the classroom, and how do they foster the various creative thinking styles without alienating or leaving anybody behind. That's the job in itself. Then we need to look at creativity as an additional or separate discipline, if you will, reading, writing, arithmetic, creativity. But also, how do we weave creativity into the other subjects, into the geography and the English and all of those things, so that it functions as a comprehensive and collaborative package. So that's not an easy one to answer on the fly.
Yeah, it sounds like you would need a whole entire team to do that, because you would have to basically draft a plan to implement all the stuff, and then to do checks and balances, make sure it's actually working, or make sure it's actually going according to plan. Yeah, that sounds like it's gonna. But I think it's possible. I think it's very possible. I think honestly, well, I'm making my butt, so let me stop. But I was gonna say, honestly, stuff like this is very interesting to me. How to create and implement things that's supposed to improve a system. So, for example, I was telling Kurt that I am writing this book about improving the Black community in America and stuff like that. And this kind of remind me of that, because it's another thing that I could potentially, I could see myself going down the rabbit hole, trying to make a plan to do this. But and you see, as you said, I keep thinking of these buts, but I don't have time. But so it's honestly, kicking your own butt is really hard. And I keep, now that I'm more conscious of it, it's just keep noticing it.
Yeah. Well, and again, just replace it with how might we? What are all the ways? Something like that. Appreciate it.
Thank you.